All right. And as usual, I have a crappy setup, and as you may see, that I'm not really like feeling up to it. But I figured we'd do this, and I figured we'll do it like that. That way, it's easier to see. So, making sure I got my Yeti mic pointed at me in the right direction, and all of that is going good. I'm not sure if my mic is actually working all the way through. Huh. Turn this up a bit. Just in case. Hey, DJ, what's going on, man? Can you hear me, by the way, if that's the case? I want to make sure that my voice comes through. Because if not, then I'm probably going to have to readjust. So if you can hear me, just say yes. If not, just say no. Or if you can't hear me that well. I miss you too, man. Like, I know I haven't been talking to you as much, man. I do feel bad, honestly. It's just, like I said, I've been doing a lot of things, and it's been eating a lot of my time up. And I'm really trying to shift a lot of things over. And it's really hard for me because I've also got to deal with a lot of drama stuff on the other hand. And it's drama that I'm not really trying to look for or trying to start or anything like that. It's just there's certain shit out there that I got to deal with and I got to put up with. And it's not really that it gets under me or it gets under my skin or anything, but it's the fact that I got to deal with it. But that's not the main purpose of what I'm doing. But it's a part of that. That's pretty much like one of the big pieces of the portion of this whole entire thing that's going on. So with that in mind, there's some other things I do need to kind of touch up upon that have been kind of going around, and some things that have been affecting other people that I need to touch up on the subject as well. But before I do that, I need to check up on an update real quick. I want to make sure that came through before I get started. Okay. And I appreciate that. Thank you, man. So before I get into the main topic at hand here, what I want to really just kind of go over real quick with you guys, in case any of you guys are watching as well. I do have plans to do the album reviews, as one person had told me, so I do plan on doing that. I didn't mention this in the first stream, so that is one thing I'm going to get to, but I have another project in mind that I'm also going to be constructing to, and it's not one of those original projects. It's something that everyone else has kind of done before. They've kind of done a compilation of funny things together and all that. And excuse me 1 second, something just happened. I do apologize about that. Some things just have to be taken care of. Now, anyways, just want to check that real quick. Yeah, so before I get into that, so what I was basically going on first about is the fact that I will be doing album reviews. Like I said, I had some person who was asking me about that. But first, there's a project I was going to be doing in mind, and I'm just going to get skipped right to the head of it. It's going to be one of those don't react or don't laugh challenges that I'm going to be putting together. It's a compilation of what I'm going to be doing, but I'm out of breath for some damn reason. Whew. Anyway, it's what happens when you talk fast. So I'll try to like tone it down a notch a little bit, but in that case, so basically the story that I'm about to tell is going to kind of come full circle here, because I had a good friend of mine. Actually, I was just downstairs drinking water, by the way, speaking of which. The fact of the matter is that I've been noticing a lot of my other friends and a lot of people that I associate with have been going through the same kind of, if you can call what people call subscriber burn. And basically what that is that when you upload certain amounts of videos, pretty much the viewers or pretty much the viewership itself decline based upon how many videos that you make. But it's a little bit in a different circumstance, because it seems like every time I upload a video once per day, it goes down. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't get me wrong here. I don't really care about monetization for my channel, okay? Because, like I said, I have a job that I work outside of YouTube, so I do this for fun. But there is to a point where I do want to kind of make some money, so that way I can just pay for a little bit of things, as apart from having to use my full paycheck on something else for my other job. But I totally get that. YouTube is not going to be is not a full-time investment for me. I can't do that. But there's other people that usually use YouTube as a full-time investment. I didn't believe in this concept before, because originally what I thought of at first is that I didn't really believe as YouTube as much as a real job. But that stance has kind of changed ever since I've seen the amount of work and progression that certain other people in certain communities have progressed with this sort of content that they've used. One in particular who I have known in mind is Miss Cat Squad, who's actually become a very good friend of mine, who's helped a lot of people and has been spreading positivity with her videos, and has already reached about 22,000 subscribers. And that's near to some of the people that I do know that have raised it to that much subscribers as well. And unfortunately, as it turns out now, through current events, is that YouTube is now deciding on this out of nowhere principle to say, you're uploading too many videos, or you're uploading a video a day, therefore because you have subscribers who weren't watching you, we're going to take those subscribers off of your lists, have them unsubscribe from your channel, even though they stayed subscribed. It was their choice to begin with. This is what I find a little bit more unprecedented than I kind of believe it is, because people didn't ask to be unsubscribed from those channels. If people wanted to unsubscribe from those channels, YouTube, are you paying attention here? If they wanted to unsubscribe to those channels, they would have done by their own will, by their own means. And if they weren't logged into their accounts for maybe over a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, that is on them. That does not mean that, oh, they're gone for good, let's just unsubscribe them from your channels because one person happens to upload a video that someone is subscribed to. It's happened to me a lot. The only part that just pisses me off is the fact that there's people that do in fact want to watch me. Certain people, not everyone, but certain people. And if they can't be on their accounts because they have things like work, or they have things like in their, on their other time that they have to do, that's because they have to do what they have to do with their lives. It doesn't mean that, oh, they don't want to watch me anymore or watch other people that they do watch. They can't spend their full time on YouTube all the time. And sometimes they can't even go back to the channel that they had or watch certain things or be subscribed to a channel for a certain amount of time. That doesn't mean necessarily that you need to have these channels unsubscribe. And gosh, my nose is itching for some damn reason. You shouldn't do that, because it's unwarranted and a little bit more unprecedented, and it's uncalled for. And when I say this, I mean this in a very, very, very serious tone. And it doesn't really help, for the fact of the matter is that Susan, the CEO of YouTube, is acting like a damn feminist, and I do apologize if there's anyone watching who is a family-friendly channel. I am apologizing for the fact you're going to probably hear me in a little bit more of this kind of negative tone. I don't want to sound negative, but at the way things are going, it's becoming a complete catastrophe with other channels. But we know it's going through the exact same process, and it's the exact same thing that we're seeing over again. I suffered through this. Ranter and Shades, Stout Maestro or Official GATG, Some Guy 87, Miss Cat Squad, all these other channels have been going through these exact same things. subscriber burns, pretty much even certain videos that pretty much have copyright claims, even for the things that haven't had any other type of legitimate claim to it, or a video that's not seemed ad appropriate because you happen to be talking about a subject. Now, one of those recent events I did talk about was some guy 271, his video about the YouTube shooter that happened. Again, I'm going to bring this up as an example. His video was deemed unwatchable because it violated the terms of service, therefore he lost his live stream. Now, fortunately, to this current day, he's got his live streaming back, but it's kind of odd to think that, oh, well, it was permanently disabled, now it's up again. So this is telling me that YouTube is just neglecting to pretty much do its legitimate job, do what they're supposed to do. And I'm not trying to sound like some conspiracy theorist, but when you kind of put two and two together, you know they're not doing their job, obviously. They've been screwing this shit up since, like, what, 2006, 2007? Hell, maybe even before that. So real quick, double checking other stuff before I continue on, because there is a subject matter that I do want to discuss that's probably going to offend some people, and or maybe a certain person that I know that does not like my certain views, and I'm going to talk about them. So before I do that, I'm just going to double check. And we are good. Now, so the timing on here right now, so it's been like 11 minutes and 27 seconds. So like I said, I'm probably going to still go on here until about maybe 9 o'clock. So we'll try to make this last. So with that in mind, before I get into the other topic, by the way, Lourdes Macedo, I'm happy to see you again. Very much. So with that in mind, I just really wish that YouTube could really pull its head out of its ass, because I don't want to see one of my favorite YouTubers go. I really don't. I did not induct, Ms. Cat Squad into the YouTube Hall of Fame for nothing, or just to see them be dragged away because YouTube decides to make its constant mistakes over and over again. It's asinine bullshitting, and also in the complete stances of what the hell. Why do we need to keep going through this? Because now Miss Cat Squad's channel is in jeopardy, and I don't want that channel to go. I don't want that channel to burn out, fade away, or anything like that. 22,000 subscribers, and I really feel like that's something that really deserves a lot of credibility and initial to see that on there. And yes, thank you, by the way, because I am wearing a Nightwing shirt, and it's also because Raven's one of my favorite characters from the DC universe. And we'll get into pretty much the DC Marvel stuff here in a moment, because I just got done playing Spider-Man from the PS4. I'm not giving anything away, but we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But with that in mind, I don't want to see Miss Cat Squad's channel fade away, and I don't want anyone else to feel, or have to suffer through that for the community or the fan base, because I represent that. I don't just represent the ranting community as well too, because that's also apart from that I stemmed from. Just like when I was talking shit about Muse Productions, I was making those things about him. But the thing about it is that I'm trying to represent a community in a way that is presented as the right way. And it's not the shit talk anymore about that, but it's just a way to kind of show that I actually do give a damn about what goes on here, about the brand community, or pretty much the gaming community. So in that regards, it doesn't really matter. And I understand Miss Cat Squad is more of like a family-friendly kind of okay, I'm sorry. I was kind of distracted by DJ's comment right there. But I understand that Miss Cat Squad is a family-friendly channel in most regards. But I also feel like it's also a great channel to have around, and it's been a positive influence. And it's what's the word? It's really shameful that YouTube has to drag that channel through the dirt, because that, according to YouTube, they're not living to their standards of uploading or how viewership is supposed to be. So it's kind of weird. We still gotta go to Black Buffet. You said that, not me. You said that. So I'll go with that regards. All right, double checking. And yes, by the way, I am going to be making a shout out as well, along with the new project that I'm going to be doing, to Damien Skyfire. He's a good friend of mine, and he's been an awesome collab. I didn't do my blacklist on Muse, and I owe it to a lot of people. I do owe it to Lodo Drandel, Damien Skyfire, and also to my good friend Nick. So I do owe them a lot. Apologies on that. And though I will make it up to you guys in any way, shape, or form, Damien, this is only a partial bit repaying to you because I'm going to make a shout out video to you in case you're watching this in another video. But this is kind of a partial way to kind of do it to start things off. So with that in mind, that is something that I'm going to be projecting through. Now onto that regards, before, like I said, we still got some time to get through before I get into the main subject, is that I've been finally doing my catching up with the whole feminist and all the Antifa and all of the fascism shit that's been going on. And I've been kind of like hurling myself into watching and reacting to all of these stupid things that I've been watching so much. And I've been beating myself up over it. So in that case, I've been catching up on that, and I've been noticing how much of cringeworthy that is over the 9,000 levels. And as shameful as that it is. So taking a breather. So in that regards, so in case if Miss Cat Squad is also watching this, by the way, I really hope that things do get a whole lot better with YouTube and they really get their heads out of their butts, because I don't really want to see your channel fade away, because I love watching something that brings something that's more positive to me. It's done something like what Watch Girls Play used to do back in the day, back when it was the Drea, Kenzie, and Renee era. Something about it, it feels like when you're hanging out with somebody, you kind of take your mind off a lot of things, and it's like when you're hanging out with a whole bunch of people, watching someone who's doing a reaction or doing a gameplay to something. You take your mind off the things that are stressful in your life, and you focus it directly onto this. And I feel like that's the sort of thing that I've been looking for with that, despite the fact that I've been going on with such of my rants that kind of feel like it's ending in such negative aspects or connotations to that. And but that's the point. Like what some guy at 27 said, that sometimes people need people who rant or say negative things. Well, not necessarily in a bad way, but it sort of helps, open someone's mind up to something rather than just blindly agreeing to something. So anyways, I think I've got all of that out for the matter, and I really hope that she gets, a lot of support and a lot of help, because I really don't want her channel to go. I know that's repetitive of me, but I really, really, really hope that she gets a lot of support, and I'm trying to spread the word here too. And I really think that it's something that she really needs help on, and that, hopefully, if anyone else is watching, we can help her with that and just try to keep her to that area. But also, if you want to support her on Patreon, do that too as well. She does make some good content. She's also got a team behind her, so help the team out, help the squad out. And that's my shout out to Miss Cat Squad. She's like a little sister to me in some way, because, like I said, in that way, because I don't really have really much siblings in life. I mean, I do have some siblings, but I don't really have I have a base of friends who are like siblings to me, and I kind of feel like that's the sort of thing that I pretty much share with that relationship. So in that regards, that's just the way I feel. All right, DJ, if you gotta go, you gotta go, man. I'll catch you later. All right, love you, bro. Oh man. So in that regard, now I just got done playing the PS4 version of Spider-Man. I'm not going to give anything away, but I'm just going to give you my analysis and what I feel about the game. I love it to death. I do. I seriously would have given this thing a 10 out of 10. However, because let me talk about the positives first before I get into the cons. The positive side is that the gameplay mechanic, this is where I'm kind of like 75% good, 25% bad on, is that the mechanic on this, it's pretty good. You actually have, it's kind of like, it's pretty much like Batman Arkham series, but in this sense, you have the Spidey sense. The beat 'em ups are pretty good. You have a little bit of combos. You have a little bit of a mix up with certain moves that you can do. And yes, Lourdes, the suits are awesome and badass. I haven't seen the Venom suit or anything like that. That's not really a spoiler, because pretty much they talk about pretty much all the suits within the upcoming parts when you like pretty much pre-order it. The suits, pretty much the area itself, it's pretty good. I thought the expansion, like on the map, I thought the outside areas on the map you can go to, which you can't, which I'm not sure. That may be DLC. I could be wrong, but the story itself is pretty good. Actually, I thought the story was indeed excellent. It was pretty much good and on par. You really pretty much can relate to characters, and you can pretty much, picture yourself or pretty much imagine yourself as the web slinger himself with pretty much all the other suits, and that's what made it a good combination. Now, apart from that, apart from some certain things that you can do by exploring and all of these fascinating things, however, though, there are some cons to it that and I know a lot of people have given this a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, but here's my honest opinion about this. I would have to at least give this an 8 out of 10. However, before I get into the however that is, let me talk about the cons in this. The cons in this is that sometimes the gameplay can be awkward. There are times where I've been jumping around from building to building, trying to land somewhere. Then all of a sudden, it's like you have a panic moment when you think he's going to jump, when you think Spider-Man's going to jump off, then he ends up going somewhere else. And you have to pretty much reposition him back so you can get him right to where you want, so you can collect a certain item or you can land on the roof. That part has irritated me. Another addition to that, into the con section, is that the gameplay experience between easy, balanced, and expert. I've been playing on not balance expert. I've been playing on balanced. They have treated the normal aspect like it's an expert aspect. It literally took me about 20 times, and I know that's going to sound pretty like for a balanced gameplay. But even God of War, even with the balanced gameplay, had more reasonable fair play to it. That is not to take away from Spider-Man from the PS4. But when you have a difficulty setting and you're putting an expert kind of, obstacle in a normal balanced game, that's going to cause a problem. And I did kind of notice some glitches where the floor itself would flip and you can see the city pretty much either upside up or upside down through the floor. And I was like, So with that in mind, and there were certain things about when certain bad guys would beat you up, and then even when you press that circle button, when you dodge out of the way, you will still get hit by missiles, depending on where you go. And that's what frustrated me. There were times where I got so frustrated I needed to walk out of my room and take a breather, because the game itself does frustrate me. It does, but it's a game that frustrates me so much. It's because I love it to death, and it does have a lot of great things about it that I will not take away from it. Now, however, I did say that I would have to give it an 8 out of 10. But the reason why I'm bringing this one up to officially a 9 out of 10 is because Stan the Man Lee was in it. It is not even a spoiler. If you know for a fact, because even Stan Lee was in the previous ones, that is really not a spoiler at all. Stan Lee was in the previous one. That's the one that actually pretty much had the Andrew Garfield version. He was in that previous one. So he's going to be in every one of these other ones with Spider-Man. We know this. But the way that he pretty much did this was a great example. So with that in mind, that is the reason why I give it a 9 out of 10. Because he was in that. And I do applaud him, and God bless that dude. Seriously. For making one of the greatest superheroes of all time. Now, in all honesty, I've been spending like 95% of my time, that's about 4 or 5 years, mostly on the DC universe rather than Marvel. Now, I'm slowly coming back to Marvel. It's not saying that I support DC more than I have Marvel. I like both areas. It's just I've focused more of my time on DC because I haven't really focused on some of those aspects of characters and story to DC, and I've been focusing on an original story that I'm pretty much trying to non-canonically use in the DC universe. But I also want to come back to the Marvel universe because I want to go back into my favorite characters like Spider-Man, Venom, Thor, and pretty much Iron Man. And pretty much I want to get back into that aspect there too. And not to mention I got the Spidey suit, so I want to try to make my own custom looking Spider-Man outfit. Not like an actual suit, but pretty much like what I got at Hot Topic, all that other stuff. And so, like I said, I'm already about 78% done with that game. I only have a few things that I need to collect out of that, and I'll be 100% done. And yes, I did see the Venom trailer for Tom Hardy. I'm really super stoked to see it. I got into a conversation, by the way, with some certain friends of mine, and they were like, even if the Venom movie does work out, they don't want to see Venom kind of be pushed into the Spider-Man movie because they have to dial it down to PG-13. And I can understand that. But the one thing that I kind of figured out is like, well, why can't they just put Spider-Man from there into the Venom universe right there? You don't really have to dial it down to a PG-13 rating if you drag Spider-Man from his area into Venom's area into that aspect. But we got to kind of wait and see because they're kind of anticipating if the first one does well, then there is a possibility then Venom will actually be transitionable to the Marvel or the MCU universe into that area. And the MCU universe is probably pretty much the best area in filming compared to where the Marvel universe is more adaptable with the comics than any other ones. I mean, you had the other ones like Fantastic Four. I mean, talk about outside the MCU universe, but like Fantastic Four, The Incredible Hulk, the back, I can't remember his name. Let's just also say the Spider-Man era when you had Tobey Maguire and you had, all the other characters, pretty much Willem Dafoe, James Franco. Those era of characters, yes, they actually did fit the role of the characters, but it didn't feel like it placed much itself of the role within the comics. But the MC universe, I feel kind of pretty much did that aspect there, and I feel like it's the best time or the best era that those things pretty much adapted well with the comic series. And I still need to watch the Infinity Wars movie. I still haven't done that because Thanos has become a really interesting character that I really want to touch more up upon. I remember back in the days I had some comics collected and I haven't seen Thanos much in those, but I have seen him here and there, but never to a point where I feel like he was the villain that would win. And we haven't seen villains win since like the Empire Strikes Back or the Watchmen. I can't even remember the villain's name, which I won't give spoilers to, but pretty much we haven't seen a villain win since the Watchmen. And that came out like in early or mid 2000s. And pretty much that's just how I've seen that. So before that, you had the Empire Strikes Back, and then you have that aspect there. So we're done talking about that, and I still have about 13 more minutes. And so what I'm going to say is probably going to trigger a certain somebody. He's not in the stream, I believe, because he's probably on Facebook, most likely. But he had this conversation where he was posting up something about Barack Obama. And now let me make this completely clear. If you are on my live stream, I do not care if you support Obama. I do not care if you support Trump. I do not care if you support Hillary Clinton or John McCain, rest in peace. I don't care if you support any of these Republicans or Democrats. I do not care about that. Before I get into that, I need to read Lourdes' comment real quick. And yes, I will get into that subject. I will get into that subject about that in an upcoming video that I will do. So bear this in mind that I do not care what politician you support. Okay, I'm not going to deem you as anything short or anything that is anywhere below of what I would see someone as. If you voted for someone because you believe in their stances or you believe in their views or you believe that's what they can get done, by all means, I ain't judging you one bit. But my political role in this, I'm pretty much a centrist. Big shocker to some people, but I am a centrist. And here's the thing that kind of like irritates me in the bit, because one of my friends did mention that, oh, well, centrism, like pretty much right wingers pretty much have a hard time, standing up to fascism or Nazis, which that couldn't be far from the truth, especially with centrism. I'm not going to say that the right is a bad area, but at the same time, I don't support the right, or do I support the left? I'm pretty much a well-balanced individual who holds certain degrees of left and right views. So it's a balanced system in between in a political spectrum that I do happen to support, but it does not mean that I necessarily take a stance on any side, but it does not mean that I would compromise it to sitting on the bench, quote to say, sitting on the bench and taking any side at all. I don't take any sides on that, but in the sense I hold my own view to that. It's pretty much the synonym to an independent party. You know who else was also in an independent party back then? That was George Washington. Yep, I'm making that history stance all the way back when the first president of the United States ran the country. So in that sense, here is the issue that lies in hand. Centrism itself is often deemed as pretty much the pussy pandering asshole that does nothing but just let communism or fascism pretty much take over. Centrism doesn't necessarily work that way. Centrism means that I could say fuck both of those sides. It means that centrism can oppose fascism or communism. I don't support any of those. And I believe both of those sides, in the far left and the far right, are pretty much just mental, abdominal monstrosities. That's what I believe. And don't think that I'm not going to leave Antifa out of the mix, because Antifa is nowhere near better than fascism, because I believe that if you want to spread a message, you do it the right way. Do I believe that spreading violence is pretty much the necessary way to do it? No. That does not mean that I support fascism or Nazism or anything like that. I do not support any of those whatsoever. I believe in free speech, but I also believe that we all are human beings and that we all have at least a chance to at least say what we need to say. Do I think that violence is always the answer? Well, not necessarily. In some regards of violence, if you're fighting for someone who really needs your help, then yes, by all means. If you need to do that, or in self-defense of yourself, by all means. I have no quarrel with that. But the old saying is going as it says, an eye for an eye, the whole world goes blind. So does violence really solve the issue when it comes to facing fascism? I don't know. But when it's Antifa, you definitely know it's going the wrong way. And it comes to a point with Antifa, if you slightly disagree with Antifa, you are automatically marked as an enemy. That's how it is. That is what I have witnessed with Antifa videos. That is also what I have witnessed with certain aspects. Even Nazism, communism, and fascism. Well, Nazism and fascism are pretty much, they don't differ, but the equal amounts is that they're all monstrosities. We get this. But it does not mean in centrism that I'm just going to pussyfoot or pretty much lie under the thumbs or the feet of those people. Because I don't support any of them, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to sit out on the bench and let them do whatever the hell they want. Because this is me speaking out against Antifa. This is me speaking out against fascism. This is me speaking out against communism or authoritarianism, or pretty much any dictatorship whatsoever that is pretty much spreading any true oppression that's out there. And speaking of oppression, feminists, if you really want to change the world or actually try to solve this whole issue with rape culture, then do yourself a favor or do some homework. There's a documentary about India that I think you should look up, by the way, which is pretty much talking about rape culture. If you want to stop an issue like that, try stopping the issue in India, by the way, okay? Because this whole thing about this whole patriarchy thing, I find it ridiculous. I'm not going to sit here and deny, obviously, that there's no such thing as sexism, misogyny, misogyny, racism, violence, homophobia. We know, obviously, those exist. But the fact that certain things out like games, comics, studies, education, and other regards and aspects happen to either be offensive or triggering to you because it pretty much doesn't appeal to what you like or to an SJW, because we all have to have a hive mind to think exactly like you, because you're making this some sort of cult of patriarchy to be out some sort of political boogeyman. It's nuts. So instead of pointing fingers or blaming your problems on the so-called men that you're pretty much just downright just trying to beat down, take a look at yourself or take a look at the shit that you're doing. You think some of the protests that you're doing by standing at some sort of meeting, by menstruating all over the damn floor is pretty much a protesting sign that something's going to change, or standing in the middle of the road that blocking traffic is going to somehow change how President Trump is going to be getting out of the office? No. You really want to make a difference? Take a look at what you're doing first before you do it. Or don't look at the other person. Don't look at me. Look at what you're doing. That's what my dad told me. Don't look at me. Look at what you're doing. Pay attention to what you're doing. And I agree. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say that sexism and racism doesn't exist, because we obviously know that. But again, you got feminists, you even got those pussyfooting male feminists out there that they're going to sit there and say that, oh, well, when it comes to issues like, I don't know, white, when of white males, they need to be silent and listen when it comes to the sense of racism. Why don't we all just take the time to listen to each other in the sense of what racism is, or just stop talking about racism? I'm pretty much Morgan Freeman had the right fucking idea about that. Just stop talking about it. But unfortunately, you do actually have the fascists talking about that sort of shit. And if they want to keep babbling about that, that's their own deal. But we, as other people out in the United States, we don't really care about what color is supposed to be on somebody, because that's pretty much how 2018 is supposed to be. We're all supposed to be equal individuals, and we're all supposed to be living a good life, and we all live by the First Amendment. And unfortunately, though, we live by that time where people are easily offended, or someone calls the cops over some stupid, asinine event like some sort of, cultural appropriation because you're dressed up as some sort of Indian, or you're dressed up as some sort of shogun warrior from Japan, and it happens to offend somebody because you happen to be dressing up like that. I didn't know we placed feelings above the law here. Do I sound like Alex Jones here? Do I? Or am I actually making sense at this point? I'll let the silence kick in for the moment. Just checking out something real quick. Okay. Just that's the world we live in. Again, it's something I want to bring out. Is like, why is it that we're going to, like, or these feminists or SJWs or pretty much the male feminists are pretty much going to this extent, or this sort of concept in their mind that patriarchy is pretty much the main form of antagonism in the world. Yeah, I could sort of see that, but I'm just saying that, like, I'm not a feminist at all, but I do believe that everyone should have an equal opportunity to get by in life. Does that mean that I'm going to say that someone else should be below me because, oh, well, they didn't get a fair chance? No, I do believe that everyone should actually have that fair chance, and that's not anywhere near communism or anything like that. I'm saying that the equal chances or the equal opportunities for everyone else to have when it comes to something like work, or for an opportunity to create something like art, or to do something that pretty much changes in areas of communities, or pretty much if you wanted to run for an electoral position or into any political aspect that you want to do, that's something to do. So, yeah, no. I think that's, yeah, never mind. Actually, let me read that right. No one's against you. No. Okay, so yeah, we're on board with that. That's exactly what I was thinking. I thought I read that wrong. Jeez, I got a red eye. Whew. But that's just my belief system on that. So to put that all together to you, I'm a centrist who believes in equality for everyone else, that does not believe that racism should still be around. But again, I support the First Amendment. So if I didn't support the First Amendment, then pretty much I would be just as bad as those that pretty much are just trying to preach or pretty much say anything to bring someone down. Like I said, as a centrist, again, like, I hold certain aspects. Like, I'm pro-choice. I support what a woman does with her own body, but at the same time, I hold a view of, like, I'm against gun control, but I'm for open borders on that end. But at the other end, right there, I'm pretty much for, gay rights, equal marriage, pretty much in that sense. So I hold those balances together into that sense. So that's pretty much my sense in centrism right there. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from that from a certain individual that I've been talking to. Love you to death, brother, but I got to disagree with you on that. So it isn't necessarily that I think that it should be a hostile argument, but I'm just trying to be civil at this point. But that's just how I feel about it. And I don't think that centrism is really a bad thing. That's just me. So, yeah, that is true. I do agree with that. Actually, no, that is the point that I'm really that pretty much you summarized my point about the whole First Amendment thing that I was trying to make. Because, like I said, it's just if I didn't support free speech, then pretty much I'd pretty much be just as bad as the others who just try to censor or anyone else like that. So pretty much you pretty much nailed it right there. So thank you, by the way, Shades. And Shades, by the way, is another person that I really feel in the community has also gone through a lot in some regards. Along with actually, no, Shades is the person I was talking about in my stream just a little bit ago, in the sense of the whole subscriber burn. Other channels have gone through it, and so I know it's a little bit of a repetitive cycle for me. And I'm a minute past the 9 o'clock mark, but I can still go on for at least 5 minutes. But Shades also got me into going into the future for doing the album reviews, and of course that's also with a fan of mine that I've been doing. So if I were to also say anything else to anyone that's watching, I do recommend buying the PS4 version of the Spider-Man 4 game. I know it. I understand it's like 79 or 89.99, just depending on which. I believe it was like, yeah, it's like $80. I recommend just take it easy a little bit, because you will be stuck to your chair or you'll be stuck to the floor playing that. It's addicting pretty fast, despite the fact that there are frustrating things about that. So I would be really careful with that. It's a very great game after all. To me, this is like the second greatest game in 2018 that has come out, and I'm really happy for that. But I got everything else covered. If you guys in the chat want to say anything, just feel free to let me know, and I'd be more than happy to talk about it. It's kind of like a Q&A in some way, since we still have a little bit of time. So if you want to ask anything, go ahead and ask away, because now is the time. And if there's no questions, that's all right. So, but like I said, I still got about like 5 more minutes before we pretty much wrap this up. So. All right, I guess we got no questions. That's okay. Okay, so to make sure I didn't miss anything before I pretty much put this to an end. Okay. So actually, that was pretty good. I pretty much got to vent some stuff out and pretty much talk about some things that I was kind of afraid to talk about in the whole sense of centrism. In other words, I'm kind of like a pragmatist in that way. So I do appreciate you guys coming out. Now, if there's some people that do disagree with me on some things, don't be afraid to tell me, or don't be afraid to give me some constructive criticism, or anyway from anyone who does watch me. I'd be willing to learn from that. If you want to do that, you can message me, but we can't really message, but pretty much there's like the about me, or pretty much if you wanted to just comment on the channel, just give me any criticisms that you just feel that like, might be necessary for improving. I'm all for that. I learned my lesson about that a long time ago from certain individuals that they actually do pretty much good streams of content creation. And so I feel like that's been improving. And like I said, if you guys have anything that you want to share with me, feel free to let me know. If you want to do it, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, or Instagram, just feel free to let me know, and I'm all for it, man. So thank you guys very much for coming out here just for about maybe 45 minutes of watching me. It's been pretty good, and I finally got to let some things out. So thank you guys for coming, and you guys have a wonderful day, all right? Peace.